Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Manolis from Man United Fans Voice. Manchester United once again totally outclassed by a top team. For large parts of that game, it wasn't even competitive. It was a disgrace. It is hard to know where to start from. We looked passive and completely out of ideas. We were reactive, not proactive. Lacking quality, lacking desire. We got humiliated at home once again. This cannot go on. It is embarrassing. I think that was the most un-derby-like performance I've ever seen. Gutless, spineless, no pride, no desire, no passion, nothing. There's just nothing there anymore. Time's up. So United went to the game with a clear intention to sit back and try to win the game by counter-attacking. I know on paper it was a 3-man defense, but in reality the 3 central defenders and the 2 fullbacks were in the same line, so it was 5 at the back. When your team is lacking confidence and concentration, and your 5 defenders seem flat and unable to react and deal with the pressure, and your midfield looks completely out of ideas and unorganized, no matter how many plans you might have, A, B, C, you have no chance when you're playing against a team like City. From kickoff, this looked to be the game we all anticipated. Medium to low block from United versus ultimate ball control from Manchester City. But Manchester City, from very early in the game, were finding ways to become dangerous. And just after 6 minutes, City took the lead. Cancelo delivered a dangerous low ball into the 6-yard box. Eric Bailly read the play, but his attempted clearance hit the back of the net. When United didn't have the ball, Greenwood was tasked with tracking Rodri's movements off the ball, which saw Cristiano Ronaldo leading the front line on his own. With Fred and Bruno Fernandes, the wide central midfielders, stepping up, United's press resembled a 5-1-3-1 shape, with no pressure on the centre-backs nor the full-backs. Even though Mason Greenwood did track Rodri, this didn't stop the defensive midfielder from being a passing option as he constantly moved into empty spaces. As a result, Manchester City were able to move the ball up the field very quickly, and Solskjaer's side were forced deeper and deeper. With Phil Foden and Gabriel Jesus gluing Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw to the last line, City's fullbacks had plenty of space to receive, turn and have plenty of time before being confronted. Cancelo and Walker enjoyed a lot of space in their own half, but that also continued when they entered United's half. City got into great positions thanks to the rotations by the midfielders. Kevin De Bruyne roamed in and out of the empty spaces and often dragged Harry Maguire out of the defensive line, creating empty spaces behind the centre-back. I think the second goal was a very clear indication of the mental state and lack of concentration that Manchester United are currently suffering from. Any half-decent defender knows that when you are not 100% certain of who is behind you, you clear the ball. And Luke Shaw, who under normal circumstances is a top left-back, didn't even do that. And David De Gea managed to concede a goal that probably me or you could have prevented. Solskjaer then switched back to the 4-2-3-1 formation that we have become used to when discussing about this United team. Eric Bailly was replaced by Jadon Sancho, who moved on to the left, Mason Greenwood on the right and Bruno Fernandes back to his usual 10 position. Solskjaer also made changes to desperately get something out of this game, even a cameo for Donny van de Beek. But Manchester City continued to pass the ball easily through their build-up patterns and Guardiola's team saw the game out in a very controlled fashion. In the previous 2 seasons, whenever United didn't play like I wanted them to, I knew why that was happening. I knew what was wrong, what was missing. For example, before Bruno came in, Solskjaer went through a rough time and people were asking for him to be replaced then. But I could see what was missing then. I could see why the performances and the results were not good enough. Now the situation is different. Now the performances and the results are not justified. Something needs to change. Not because the manager is useless or clueless, but because the longer this continues, the worse it becomes. The players will start to want to leave. They already look lost. The squad looks unhappy and I don't believe they're getting a fair share with game time. Changes need to be made because even our top 4 chances are under threat. I appreciate what Oli has done, especially after the toxicity of Mourinho's time. But now it just feels that he is undoing all his good work and he should leave with his head held high. He will always be a legend regardless, but he has hit a wall and someone else is needed to take us to that next level. I honestly don't think Oli can survive this. The club seems very quiet, which usually indicates that a change is coming. With the international break, we have 2 weeks until our next game, which means that a new manager has some time to implement his philosophy. If United want to replace Oli, now is the right time. At this point, I think it is more about who than when. What is more dangerous than not replacing a manager who is not capable is replacing him with someone who is not the right choice. Barcelona, Juventus, Tottenham come to mind. Wrong choice, and we are back here again, and probably much sooner. I wanted nothing more than to see Solskjaer bring success back to Manchester United. Nothing more. But we have now reached a point of not being able to defend the undefensible. It is the manager's job to get the players playing better football and winning games. We can question if he is good enough. We can question if he is the right man to take us forward. We can question if he is better or worse than all the other Premier League managers. But there are certain things that are not questionable. A. He has made the club much better in every way than what he inherited. B. Of course, we are all allowed to have a football opinion. But he has more football knowledge than all of us combined. Exactly like every Premier League manager does. Let's not forget, if you are old enough to remember, that even Sir Alex Ferguson, the greatest ever football manager, said about Solskjaer that he was a great substitute because he had an amazing ability to analyze the game from the bench. And this was even before Solskjaer went through all the training and education to become a football manager. C. He has always taken all the blame upon himself, unlike all the previous managers after Sir Alex, because D. He is a Manchester United fan like you and me. And that's why he said after the Liverpool game, instead of blaming others, he said that it was the darkest day of his life. So, all this obsessive behavior from certain parts of the United fan base who passionately called for his head every single day because Solskjaer dared to draw or lose a game, because those people think that United have some profound right to always win, or he dared to not win every game 5-0, or he didn't talk or behave like the other cool managers do. Those fans, those people will always be remembered and labelled as an absolute embarrassment. I have had people commenting on my social media and messaging me things that made me feel embarrassed that I and them have something in common. And exactly like those people have obsessively been asking for Manchester United to get rid of Solskjaer, I cannot even describe to you how much I wish there was a way that we could get rid of them out of the Manchester United fan base. Both the manager and the players should be ashamed for what is happening at Manchester United. And I am certain that the manager is ashamed. But I can't honestly say the same thing about some of those players. But once again, so many choose to focus only on the manager. Did anyone see an even half-decent aggressive challenge by any United players worth talking about? Did anyone see screaming at each other between the players to be better? Spineless, too soft, too nice, nowhere near acceptable. And please, don't tell me that it is because they are not motivated by their manager and they are not playing for him anymore. They are wearing a Manchester United shirt. They are playing against Manchester City in front of 75,000 fans. If those things alone are not motivation enough, what is? I find it really funny when I see people coming out now and suggesting that they were right all along. Solskjaer did an excellent job for 2 years and lost his way in the last 2 months. I don't think another manager could come in and do a better job. The 3 managers before him definitely didn't. In absolute certainty, if Solskjaer goes now, United are left with a much better squad, academy, recruitment, sports science and football structure than when he started. Recent form aside, and because of him, the club is getting much closer to what is needed. I strongly believe that all the ingredients are waiting for Solskjaer or a suitable other option to turn this around and very quickly take this team to trophies. When Ole took over 3 years ago, most fans were talking about it being 5 to 10 years until United would be challenging again. Who do you think is responsible for that? Of course, I'd much prefer Ole to continue and turn this around, but that feels more of a fantasy than a reality now. I cannot defend performances like that. But whatever happens, he has my support until the end. If the board decide to keep Oli, then we need to beat Watford and avoid defeats against Villarreal and Chelsea. We need a massive upturn in form, but then December games on paper all look winnable. Arsenal at home is the hardest of them. But having said all of that, I don't feel confident at all. I do not think Oli can fix this. But I will never say Oli out. It will be a sad day when he goes, and the amount of nonsense that will be said about him will definitely piss me off. The man is a Manchester United legend, and he will always remain one. At this point, anybody who is having doubts about Solskjaer is right. I have very serious doubts about him. But that doesn't mean that we have to lose all of our sense. Goodbye.